Call this meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Anson.
Here.
Trustee Doro.
Here.
Trustee Myers.
Here.
Trustee Washleiter.
Here.
Trustee Lidkey. Here. Trustee Connor.
Here.
President Vanderstill.
Here. If you'd all rise, Trustee Connor is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, if there are any public comments for items that are not on the agenda, please step towards the podium for your time to speak.
This is a new one
Just
for me
state your name in case no one knows who you are.
My name is Dick Landwehr, 251 Meadow Lane, and this is a new one for me because I was never in front of the table. I was always behind it. But I just wanted to stop in and thank you, Mr. President, and the trustees for the honor of putting my name on the building because it's quite an honor and a privilege, and I just wanted to say thanks. I write you a letter, but I'm a poor letter writer, so I come in person. But thanks very much for everything.
Thanks for all your service, Dick. It was well deserved.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll have our first item on the, is there anybody else from the public that wants to speak? I'm sorry. No? At this time, we'll have our first item on the agenda, a presentation by Kelli Yogerst related to the overview of our Recreation Department operations. This is our Recreation Department Director.
Hi, everybody. I couldn't make it to the meeting on that Saturday in April, so I'm here to present today a little bit about the Recreation Department. When you came here, you probably picked up copies of my PowerPoint presentation. We can't do a field trip to my locations tonight, so I kind of try to bring them to you. So, obviously, the Village of Hartland Recreation Department, we're a department here at the Village of Hartland. On our first slide, you'll see the first time we had a budget was 1997. I kind of give you a breakdown of where we first started, a little history of us. The first rec director was part-time back in 1996. 97 was the first budget that we found. That was actually on record. But just to kind of give you an idea how much we grew over the last 20 years, we started out like 29,000 for expenses, revenue 32. Now we're up to, for expenses, 100,000, revenue 100,000 for our revenue. So we've grown a lot over the last 20 years. For our employees, we have 2 office staff that are full-time. Myself, the recreation director, and Kinsey Dietert. She is, I share her with Ryan. She's the fiscal recreation clerk. She helps us out. She basically helps everybody out, but she's been a huge, huge help with my department. I would not be able to do as much as I can do without her. Seasonal staff, it varies during the school year. I have between 4 and 5 before and after school care individuals that work for me, and then I have 10 to 12 summer camp. My before and after school care varies depending on when my staff can work, if I have to fill in spots to get new people to help out. Summer camp, obviously we're always based on how many kids we have in camp. Contracted instructors, those are instructors that do yoga, my bread classes, all my other classes that are not, we do the 80-20 split with them. The dance classes, those are my contracted instructors. That can vary between 35 and 40 depending on the season, if it's fall, winter, spring, or summer, depending on what classes we're offering then. Yeah, Donna.
Sorry, I just have a question. Did Jenny, just because how that was put up there, did Jenny ever become a non-seasonal employee?
She is regular, and I actually forgot about that. Sorry, my mind is just summer. Yes, Jenny Lezier, our summer camp coordinator, that's totally my fault. She was moved to regular full-time because she does a lot of planning. I'm still have her as summer, so. We have 3 program guides that we send out: winter, spring, summer, and fall. Winter, spring is basically January through May. Summer is June through August. Fall is September through December. Who gets a program guide? The municipalities that get this in the mail is us, obviously, Village of Hartland, City of Delafield, Town of Delafield, Village of Merton, Town of Merton, and Neshota. We mail out about 6,000 plus program guides to these municipalities. Number of programs offered for winter spring 2018, we had 127 programs. Summer 2018, we had 100 programs. Fall, we had 101 programs. Average number of programs for each season. For adult, it can range between 30 to 55, depends on the season. Like in summer, we don't have that many adult programs because we tend to find that adults are, it's nice out, I don't want to go outside after work. So youth 40 to 64, more kids are off of school. We have more day programs, evening programs, and we can use outside facilities because we don't really have a lot of inside facilities. Trips vary between 5 and 7. Enrollment, I gave you guys a little breakdown of 2018 enrollment. Total was 4,338, and some of these are duplicates where one person will sign up numerous times. Program locations, Centennial Park, we have our youth sports, our kids sports programs that go there. Also Nixon Park, this is where we have our concerts, our movies, our pickleball. It's a rainy picture, I was waiting for a nice day, but I just couldn't get out there. And then obviously our little T-ball diamond is where we have our multi-sports going on right now. And obviously you'll see the Fine Arts Center. To the left, you'll see that's also where our beer garden is. Hartland South Elementary, this is where our before and after school care program is located. We do sometimes have programs in here, but it's kind of hard because our after school care program is in there from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and then the school uses their facility. But sometimes I can program, if I have to put them in there, I can get classes in there. Or if it, like multi-sports or outside program gets canceled due to rain, I can usually move them in there. But gym space is limited because of the school district using it. Hartland North Elementary, this is where pickleball takes place during the winter and fall months. This is where our Hooper Hands program is located. And our summer camp that piggybacks off of Summer Splash. We work with the school district where we offer summer afternoon camp that goes directly after their Summer Splash program. Their Summer Splash program is held from 8:30 to 12:30. It'll be like June 7th through August 9th. And then our summer afternoon camp comes in from 12:30 to 5:30 at this location. Our cafeteria, our gym, that's where we have that. And then after that, summer camp moves to Nixon Park for the rest of the season. North Shore Middle School, this is where we have a lot of our adult classes. We use the teacher's lounge, the middle picture, and then that's also our presentation room, which is nice because they have a drop screen, and they usually have the chairs out so we can get a lot of people in there and do a presentation and everything. Little Red Schoolhouse, this is where some of our senior programs are. This is where we bowling, our barre class, our Heads Up Yoga is here. To the Point Dance Academy, this is where Nina, who we have a dance program with, this is where her studio is. This is our Hartland Community Center. This is our senior fitness class on Fridays. To the left, with the individuals laying on the floor. To the right, that's where we have our cards. Sometimes I'll have like a educational class, like Relax, Renew, Rejuvenate. She likes to have her classes in that location as well. And the village boardroom, we've graduated to you guys, this room too. Our bridge is actually held here because we can't find space to put him with his schedule and with our schedule, there's conflict, so I've kind of taken over the boardroom on Fridays. So if you want to learn to play bridge, come on over. Other locations, here's a list. We don't just, those are my primary locations, but we do programs with other departments, so I threw those on there. Or we do joint programs with other organizations like Lake Country Martial Arts. We'll offer a program, but we'll go to their facility because actually they have the supplies and equipment. Other things we do, we don't just do programs. We do the Thursday night concerts, hometown celebration, music, fireworks, the 5K. We assist the clerk with the parade. We put together the family movie series. We're part of the Ice Age Trail Community Committee. We attend Hartland Kids Day, and we also attend Community Fest. That's it. Any questions?
Kelly, are they all self-liquidators?
I'm sorry?
Are these programs self-liquidated? So that the people that enroll in that offset our costs?
We do an 80-20 split, except for summer camp and before and after school care. Those are the only hourly wages.
No, I'm talking about what our expenses are. So when we run a program, the amount of revenue that's generated from that, does that cover our expense?
We really don't have an expense. Like kids sports, they have equipment and supplies. They bring their own. I tell instructors, if you want equipment or supplies, you gotta provide it yourself.
Okay, so, is the amount of money that people are paying to take part in the events offsetting our employee costs?
I think Kinsey is covered and I'm a little covered. We're not completely self-sufficient. I think my salary mainly is not covered in the revenue.
It goes to that, one of the first slides, she's about $40,000.
Yeah.
Her revenue, expenses I believe are 360 and revenues are about 320. So it's about 40,000 subsidized by citizens.
So it's, say that again.
About $360,000 in total expenses. That would be Kelly, all of her staff, all the
Right.
summer staff, all of the dance teachers, everybody that we pay. And then the revenues we get back are $320,000. So we're about $40,000 of subsidized, tax subsidized money.
Okay, that's probably just the management.
Yeah, that's
It's
less
me,
than
basically, yeah, with a little less.
And what is the difference in the amount of fees for village people versus people that don't live in the village?
20%. We do 20%.
20%?
Yeah.
No resident versus non-resident.
Yeah, resident versus non-resident is 20%.
And are we still doing the program where if somebody is employed in the village but doesn't live here, they still get the village?
If they are an employee of a company that is in the village of Hartland, yes. Yes.
Have we thought about those programs, those booklets you send out are just great. Have we thought about maybe selling advertisement in them?
Anybody can buy advertisement if I have the space. It's just if I have the space, because I can't just add another page. I have to add 4 pages. So I just have to have the space. And I can usually, I've gotten pretty creative with getting space.
Is that something that could get into that 40,000?
With advertising?
Yeah.
No. No, because she'd have to add, like she said, you can't add 1 page, you have to add 4. And then that's selling all of that, and that would take someone that would take even more time out of the village to go sell those
Yeah.
ads.
So
And-
hiring a professional person to sell those ads wouldn't pay for themselves?
Being a person that sold those ads for a long time, I'm telling you, no, we would not get our $40,000 out of them.
Okay. Those programs, those books look nice.
They are very nice.
Very
The
nice.
calendar.
Very, just a big improvement.
We've actually noticed the year I changed the layout of the guide, how I did it and everything. I kept looking how to make it easier, modern and everything. That was December, our enrollment like shot up, was that. And everybody's, oh, the calendar. It's not really a calendar, but that's all right. We'll go with it, so. Any other questions? Okay,
Great job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is a consideration of a motion to approve the village board minutes from the April 22nd meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the April 22nd meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the April 22nd meeting. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Next item on the agenda is a consideration of a motion to approve the vouchers for payments in the amount of $700,418.26.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pay the vouchers in the amount of $700,418.26. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Next item on the agenda are considerations of actions related to issuing of licenses and permits. We have a consideration of bartenders, operators licenses with a term ending June 30th, 2020. That's for Robert Barris III, David Ewing, Christian Owers, and Lindsay Kotmer.
I move we grant the license.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to grant the license as listed, or licenses as listed. Anybody have anything? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Those licenses are granted. That's carried. The next, we have a street use permit. The applicant is Tabi's Lake Country. The event is their grand opening. The location is 111 East Capitol Drive. The date is Saturday, June 8th, 2019, and the time is 12 p.m. to midnight. So 12 p.m. to 12 a.m., so noon till midnight. The applicant is also requesting an extension of the liquor license premises for the event to include the parking lot behind Hometown Pharmacy, so behind the building that's located at 109 East Capitol Drive. This is allowable under state statutes regulating alcohol and beverage licensing.
Is that street gonna be closed longer than we do for the street dance?
They're asking for the permit from 12 p.m. to midnight. Do we have someone here for that application?
She's actually not going to be closing the road. She only did, she did the street use permit to get barricades to help with the parking area.
Just
So she's
to
not going to
be
be closing
confined
the
into
road.
the parking lot. No road closure as far as I'm.
No road closure,
been
no.
made
I
aware of.
clarified with her on Friday. No road closure.
So this is a street use permit just for not a road closure, but some barricading, and of course, there is also the,
So that's why she just had to have the one signature.
Exactly.
Okay.
at the same time, as listed, it's my understanding that their expansion of the space that they'll be using their existing liquor license for is permissible under state law.
That is correct.
Okay.
Will we be supplying any support police-wise or barricade-wise?
I don't
Just
believe
barricades.
anything
Just
right now other than
Block
what we
off
already
the
provide.
entrance So no cars can get in and out of the parking lot.
Barricades, I already talked to her.
Okay,
We're gonna drop them off on Friday, so we don't have to pay, they don't have to pay overtime.
okay.
So we'll drop them off Friday, she'll put them into position on Saturday.
Kind of like they do with
But no,
buses.
no extra police? Yes.
They'd have to hire them.
Okay, okay.
I'll move that we approve the street use permit.
I
second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the street use permit for Tabby's for Saturday, June 8th. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. All way.
I make a motion to give them permits for the chickens.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to grant the license for those two chickens. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Next item on the agenda, we have a presentation, a review and consideration of the 30th anniversary of the American Soviet Clay Stomp event on Saturday, June 15th, 2019. If we have members that would like to speak to that, please step to the podium at this time for the presentation. Everybody got one? If you could state your name and that kind of
Yes.
thing for us, for the
My
record,
name is
please.
Joel Pfeiffer. I'm a Hartland resident for my entire life, off and on. Retired teacher from Arrowhead High School. And maybe some of you have heard about me. Hopefully it's good. I've been mixing clay with my feet for the last 45 years. And with mixing clay, I've been mixing people. And you'll know on the little sheet that I have here is, there's a quote in there. It says, "As we mix the clay mixes us." I've discovered that when people mix clay with their feet, they start having fun. And in fact, they get free facials. But as a result of it, the whole intention is to ultimately create a work of art. In fact, Mr. Dean over there, we have a tremendous picture of him. Would that be 20 years ago or longer?
push it. Yes, at least 20.
At least 20. I did a clay stomp at Stone Bank School when they moved from the old school into the new one. And as a result of that, we did a community clay stomp and created 2 ceramic columns that were 2 foot by 2 foot by, 8 feet tall. And really a beautiful pillar of the community. And it was called Memories and Visions, Memories from the Past and Visions of the Future. Well, the 30th anniversary for the clay stomp in Milwaukee, June 11th, 1989, 5,000 people came together, and we mixed 8 tons of clay with our feet. And the intention was to create a gift to the people of Leningrad, Russia. And at that time, things were not good. It was still the Cold War. And so it was kind of unprecedented to have a project like this happen. We created a mural in Milwaukee that was 8 by 38 feet, and it was carved by everybody that was there with the intention of peace and friendship. We fired it at Rockdale Union Stoneware in Cambridge. We flew it over. PBS came with us and did a documentary that won a national award in 1990. We stomped with several thousand Russians on the Neva River at St. Peter Paul Fortress. And their mural, their gift to us, came back here. It's been installed at Mitchell International Airport since 1990. And if you're ever flying out of the airport and you go Concourse D, it's at the big rotunda. And there's the history of the story there as well. Well, with this anniversary coming up, I'm going, gee, I've got to do something. It was such a historic event. Why not in Hartland? My studio is called Heart Root Studio, and I love that symbol up there of the heart with land after it, and that's my intention with the symbol of what we would be doing on June 15th. We'd be mixing about 3 tons of clay. We'd have a large two tarps, one for grown-ups and one for little kids, like 8 and under, because you don't want kids to get stomped. We do get dirty. You get a free facial, and we're going to do a contest, a headdress contest, to see who can build the best sculpture on top of someone's head. Whatever you want, we can build on your head. We have an incredible band. I put their website on there. They're called Urban Empress. They're an incredible reggae band in Milwaukee, and they're just phenomenal. Patrick Enters is going to promote and support them. You'll love this connection. My first clay stomp in Hartland was 1978, and that was my first year at Arrowhead. And I think there was, I don't know, maybe 20 students. Well, it's their 40th anniversary this year. And one of my students said, oh my God, we don't even have a reunion planned. I'm just going to tell everybody to come to the clay stomp. So potentially there's going to be a lot of people. And if I were to guesstimate, 500 to 1,000. And of course, the whole idea is to not only promote the park, but have fun. And the splash pad, just to let you know, no one will be stomping clay over at the splash pad. It's a separate thing. They won't be allowed over there. How do they get clean? Well, we've got a pond, we've got a river. No. We'll hose them down. And the tarps will protect the grass. And once we're all done and everything is finished, all the clay will be blocked up. But I would love to gift this building with 2 murals. and the murals would be created during that day. And I have a couple suggestions of spots. And right outside this door, as you come in from the back of the building, there's a big open space there. I could see a mural there, and there's another smaller space and then a smaller one. But it would be part of the intention of what we're doing. And I need clay. So what do you think? You gonna get dirty with me?
How do you get the clay?
The clay has been mined from different places in the country, so it's mixed dry, like powder. But what we'll do is we'll do a pre-mix before the actual clay stomp starts. The clay stomp starts at noon and it will run to 5, but we'll do the pre-mix first before the general public gets there. So 95% of the dust is eliminated. But it takes a lot of feet and a lot of stomping. In fact, my first years at Arrowhead, the football team came in and it wore them out in 10 minutes because you're getting resistance from the clay.
So you'll bring those items
Yes.
necessary for making.
Yes, I will bring all the clay. I know one thing that I could use is a couple tables, similar to the ones that in the library, just so that when we're working on the mural sections, you know, we can set it off the ground. I'm sure we could use picnic tables too, but you'll notice what to bring. Well, shorts and a towel, lawn chairs, picnic lunch, and that's another thing that came up. If we have all these people there, yes, they could bring a picnic lunch, but is there a potential for doing some fundraising for maybe the fire department or something? Because if it was there, I'm sure people would buy it. So it was just a thought to put that out there. Yes, and beer garden's open at noon. It's actually the best case scenario of everything. Playground, a river, a pond,
It's
people.
just kind of like a conglomeration of perfection, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Well, when I started telling people, well, what's in this park? And I'm going, oh my God, a splash pad, a band shell, a beer garden, playground. Oh my God, it's everything. So, and great music, and potentially there's going to be some surprise musicians showing up, but I can't tell you. Now,
All right.
whether it's Phil Collins or not, I'm not sure. But I won't say a name. So, do you have any questions at all about what this is about? Yeah.
This is just like the one you did a couple years back and at the Hartland Street Dance.
Okay, yes, well, yes, in that.
Small
that
clay
was,
stamp and-
in the parking lot at the Legion, and I'm sure most of you have seen the murals that we did as a result. in
Right.
the library, and they're absolutely,
We heard nothing but fabulous feedback from that. What a great event it was.
Mr. Pfeiffer, can you talk a little bit about the staffing of that? How many staff are you gonna need to help you? I mean, that's a lot of people, 500 to 1,000.
well, anybody that is there to stomp is a staff person.
Okay.
And officially, I mean, we'll have plenty of people to help support people that are stomping, because some people, it's kind of difficult to just lead them in gently to get a little dirty. But no one will get you dirty unless you give the okay. But when you give me the okay, we'll take a before and after picture, because it looks great. And you've probably seen maybe the mural over at the library in Pewaukee. I did one with Harkin and their staff and employees. I've done about 65 ceramic murals with clay stamps over 45 years.
From a village standpoint, it's my understanding the proper permits would still need to be pulled and approved. Is that correct?
I met
I'm
with-
asking, I'm
yeah.
not telling, I'm asking. Would we have to look into that to make sure?
For like the Fine Arts Center and the open space that we planned on using.
For anything that we would need to do, should we do that?
We gave him the permit that he needs for like. in the
Good.
park.
Okay, so
Right.
that's being taken care of. All right, perfect. Perfect. I just want to make sure we got all of it.
Yeah, Sure.
doing everything proper.
Yep.
Ryan, do you know if they had the dance permit, if they decided that there's no longer need for a dance permit? Because actually Tabby's technically and this one should both have it if they're dancing. Because remember, the chamber needs a street and then the dance.
I do remember that. We can talk about that with Tabby's and this as well.
Okay.
We actually have that printed out.
Joel, I would love to support it at my bar too.
Yes.
I have after-hours band playing that night.
Well, I'm sure people won't stop at 5. So, of course, the big question is, will they be allowed inside your establishment?
Of course.
No, we'll hose
He's
them
gonna
off.
be dirty. He'll be there, so he'll be full of clay too.
Well, I was thinking that we could do a really nice sculpture on your head.
There you go.
That could be your
I'll
Facebook
help with
page.
that.
Yes, okay.
That'd be pretty impressive.
That would be
Well,
impressive.
and the fun thing about doing this little headdress thing, I just thought it'd be fun. Obviously, you can't build something on your own head, but if you got in teams of 3 people, we'd have a contest. And we take a picture at each one, and then we'll come up with some way to vote. But
I
you
want
don't
you
have
on
to
my
weigh
team.
it the whole,
Yeah.
you don't have to wear it the whole day, right?
Well, you've got the permits and stuff that you need.
Yep.
Thank you very much
Yep.
for coming and presenting that to us. Hopefully it'll go off
And doing
great.
it.
Well,
but
yeah,
you'll
thank
take
you,
care of it.
Joel.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And-
Thank you very much.
And look at these great feet, by the way.
Yeah.
I'll show you those. This was the poster for the clay stop in Milwaukee.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no cost.
The next item on the agenda is a presentation and discussion and consideration of stormwater quality master plan summary. Mr. Antman?
I'm Ryan Antman with Rupert Milky, your village engineer, and I brought Maureen Schneider with me today. She's one of our project engineer experts, works on water resource type projects, and has been working on the things that we're going to be talking about today. So items 6, 7, and 8 are really all related. So I guess what I would suggest is I touch on an overview of each of those. Maureen will get into a little bit more of the details, and if it's all right with you, we could hold off on the action items until the end.
Yeah.
So really the 3 things that we want to talk about today, and provided you information about a week in advance for the newer board members, the stormwater management plan and a link to it. It's pretty complex. The village has been under a DNR permit since 2004. And so you're about 15 years in, so there's a little bit of context that we're going to touch on today. Then the specific project that we want to talk about is your Nixon Park Pond, an aesthetic amenity in the park, which requires dredging because it's filled with silt right now. We also want to talk about the opportunity you finally have to get some credit for the efforts to remove the sediment that you haven't been able to do in the past. So we'll talk about that. And then we want to talk about the CIP dollars that were budgeted, and what we're recommending on how to reallocate those to move forward. So Marie's going to walk us through these items in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, so as Ryan mentioned, the Stormwater Quality Master Plan was updated in 2017. That report was intended to comply with the village's municipal separate storm sewer system permit, which includes compliance with the total maximum daily loads, or the TMDLs. So those goals are set in the Rock River TMDL, and the village has to try to meet them per their MS4 permit. So further information on that is provided in the attachments in the report that we provided. And then also, if you want even more in-depth information, we did provide the link to where the plan is online, this hard copy. That Stormwater Quality Master Plan provided information on the MS4 and TMDL, like I said, and then it also laid out alternatives to try to get the village closer to meeting those goals. The alternatives were determined based on looking at the existing soil types, the land use, etc., and then it recommends grass swales, infiltration basins, biofilters, etc. There's numerous options in there. Several of those projects have already been scheduled out in the village CIP, which there's also an excerpt of that in the packet. So a couple examples are the St. Charles Regional Infiltration Pond, Hartridge Regional Infiltration Pond, and Hartbrook Park Bioretention Swale. And then the last one in there is the Industrial Drive and Progress Drive bioswales. And that one, actually, the village just did receive a grant for $150,000 to supplement that project. So they're all laid out in the CIP to try to maximize grant opportunities to subsidize some of the costs of those projects. So the village has been taking a lot of the steps laid out in the water quality master plan so far. Another key project in that plan that wasn't necessarily laid out as an alternative, but it's discussed in there, is the Nixon Park Pond project. This is talked about in a little bit more detail in the second attachment in the packet. It's being looked at now because, as Ryan mentioned, there's already this dredging happening that the village is doing. It costs about the equivalent of $200,000 every 10 years to do that work. And as of right now, the village isn't technically getting credit for that as applied to their TMDL requirements. So we're looking at the pond now to try to see if there's a way that we can try to apply this towards progress towards those TMDL requirements. So we did a study over the last couple months to assess the feasibility of whether we could use this pond or not. And basically, the results of that study and the coordination with the DNR through the study was that it should be able to be used for credit. So we just need to take the next steps into implementation and permitting. So permitting the permits are laid out in the action items there. Those are some of the main things that we need to discuss. So there'll be a permit required for a small dam. This was not anticipated at the start of this project, but through working with the DNR to figure out how to approach this pond, it came up that the pond does need to be permitted as a small dam. So we'll need that permit. We also will need to get a DNR permit to permit the pond so that it can be used for application towards the TMDL goals. And then we will need to apply for another dredging permit to get that work done as well. So there's those 3 permits that we'll need. So as we've worked with DNR to clarify the scope of this project more and to figure out what's feasible, we have updated the budget a little bit as we have it a little bit more dialed in. And there is an updated table in the packet as well. The bottom line is that the budget is decreasing in overall cost. It was about $270,000 to get all the work done before, and we're reducing that by about $32,000. And that's really due to just figuring out the scope with DNR, what parts we need to do and what parts we don't need to do. So that's the overall recommendation, is that we reallocate some of those funds in the overall budget.
So there's you're all familiar with the Nixon Park Pond. So there's the inlet, there's a bridge where the inlet channel comes in. That's completely filled with sediment right now for that whole length. And what happens is the sediment comes in that channel, and when the bigger storms come, it churns and it gets pushed into the pond, and your aeration system in the pond, we think, is pushing the sediment back. So the north half of the pond has a lot of silt in the bottom. The pond is about 8 or 9 feet deep, and on the north half of the pond, there's probably 3 or 4 feet of silt in the bottom of the pond, and then the channel is completely filled. As it goes through the pond, there's the other bridge at the outlet where there's that little waterfall thing where it goes back into the river. That's the concrete structure that is well designed and well built the last time the pond was dredged, or 2 times ago, and that's what would be permitted as a small dam. No matter what you do, with regards to the dredging, they're going to require that to be permitted as a small dam. The good news is it's built as a small dam. So there'll be paperwork on it, and you'll probably have to do an annual inspection of it just to make sure it's functioning the way it needs to.
Brian, where the splash pad over the flow and comes down and pours in, is that south of the dam then?
It is. That's kind of a separate little thing that was put in for,
Okay to do it, I mean, the way we did that?
yeah, that feature is intended to be a dechlorination type device where it sits and settles in that little pond area, and then it works through a channel and then discharges right into the creek. And that was permitted by the DNR as well. And I think it said it in the information here, but this will be the 4th time that Nixon Park is being dredged. So it's been dredged about every 10 years. The good news is that the amount of material that's being pulled out has been consistently reducing, and we think that correlates directly to upstream developments where you put in the stormwater ponds, and that silt and sediment is being treated into the various parts within the village. So we think that'll trend down and become less burdensome over time. So 30 years ago, I think there was 2,800 cubic yards of sediment pulled out of that pond. 20 years ago, it was 2,500, and we measured about 1,300 yards. So it's decreasing steadily.
So what you're proposing is gonna stop that silt or whatever coming in from the north side of the pond. And haven't we done some work on that the last time too? And we even put sandbags in there and everything trying to.
That was for the bank, the river bank, stream bank restoration. That's what the bags were for. So this isn't going to stop the silt. So the stream, there's the rocks that go across the Bark River. It raises the elevation of the water. It flows into the pond, and you essentially have what's called an inline stormwater pond, where silt and sediment and grit in the river is being discharged and settled out in the village-owned pond. So it's functioning like all these other ponds in the village, but historically you haven't gotten any credit for that because it's an online pond. So the DNR has changed some guidance, and through the study that we did get the verbal concurrence with them, and we do now have seen precedents in other communities where they have allowed the community to essentially get credit or show progress towards these burdensome rules that are on you for pulling that material out. So it's actually, we think, with all the different alternatives that we laid out in your stormwater plan, there's about 15 of them. We think that this one can be one of the most cost-effective ones because it's a lot of sediment that you're pulling out. And we can show that to DNR, and we can show it to essentially be a partial offset to what you're required to take out of the system.
Any ideas what we'll do with that sediment?
The last time it was placed in the park. If you haul it off-site, it's got to be landfilled, which is very expensive. So we would find a place in the park. The last time it was underneath the soccer field, right, guys?
East of the driveway going on the other side of the tennis courts.
But I mean, we've leveled that out pretty much.
I think we'd want to make sure we work with village staff to, make sure we find a good location. But what we were initially thinking is on the south edge of the park along the railway. There's a sewer line there, and it's actually settled a little bit. So what we would like to do is kind of design an area for the sediment, not just for this dredging, but the subsequent maintenance dredgings to have a location to go. So you have that figured out.
Ryan, what exactly is in sediment? What exactly is that?
It's primarily what's going to be coming off the runoff, mostly from farm fields or roads. It'd be sand, grit.
Sand, what is it?
It's just grit, sand, sediment, the erosion that comes off the site. Now, one of the things that is new in the last permit term is you have to show progress towards removing phosphorus. Phosphorus is the nutrient that causes waterways to be nutrient rich and have a lot of weed growth, and it's problematic. And so the phosphorus actually clings to the sediment. So by removing that sediment from that pond or any other storm facility in the village, you're removing not just the sediment, but also the phosphorus. Those are the two regulated components that are regulated to the stormwater permit that the village has had in place since 2004.
So when we dredge that and we pull that out and then we go and put it stays in the park and we go put it wherever, doesn't the rainwater just wash that right back in?
No, we would do it in a way, first of all, it would be dewatered before you place it. So there'll be large bags that the material goes in so that the water can be cleaned and filtered out. So it's not as scoopy. And then you would place it and grade it in its location. You'd have the silt fence around it, and you'd berm around it. And then it takes some time to settle, but then you'd seed it and cap it with an erosion mat so that it doesn't just run back into the creek. And it's already been tested. Sediment samples have been taken out, so there's no no hazardous material or anything that was identified in it. So we'll also have to take samples when this work is being done. And with the timeline, or with this approach, which is what we're recommending, this will allow for this project to proceed, for the work to occur the latter part of the summer and early fall.
Do the samples go to the state, the DNR, who tests that?
It's just a certified lab, and they run the data on it, and then we use that for the submittals to get the permit. So one of the things that'll be a little different in the future, we're going to suggest that you don't wait 10 years to do a large dredging the next time. Now, kind of realizing that this material is mostly settling in the influent channel before it gets flushed into the pond, we're going to suggest a more frequent, less intensive, like a vacuum X, focused in that channel so you can prevent it from getting in the pond itself. And that might be on a,
Dump it dry too.
yeah, it'll be maybe a 3-year or so type basis. I think it can be significant. Number one, I believe that the amount of sediment that's going to accumulate is going to continue on that downward trend because you've got more things happening upstream where you're controlling it. And rather than, de-water the entire pond and bring in big equipment for the entire area of the pond, which is what they will do, they'll use more of a vacuum excavator type, smaller device. And I think they can do it with just lowering the water maybe a foot or so in the pond and stopping the in and out while they do the work.
When you say significant,
Well,
significant in which direction?
that lesser,
Okay.
that'll be something that we will do as a part of, the permitting and the final design for the dredging and designing the location where the future materials would go as well and be disposed of. We'll kind of identify what that maintenance program would be and what we think those associated costs would be, so that the staff and you have an idea moving forward.
Who does the dredging? I guess I'm looking at the costs. Is there more
There's
than one company that does it?
there's a handful. It's specialty work, so there's not 20 companies. On the area lakes, you'll see more of like a barge type device with vacuums and pipes, and that's how they do the lakes. That's equipment's probably a bit too big for this smaller pond. So for this larger project this summer, I think what you're going to see is a dewatering, a lowering of the water table, and literally a bulldozer and a backhoe in, scooping all the material up, hauling it to the dewatering areas before they place it in the park. I think in the future, if the sediment can be controlled at the north part by the influent channel, I think you've maybe seen the TV shows Gold Rush and whatnot with those sort of vacuum devices. That's, I think, what we have in mind.
I just didn't know if there's more than one company that we get bids to.
There'll be a handful.
Okay.
There'll be a handful.
Yeah, just to recap here a little bit on where we are at so far. What you're proposing, or what you're suggesting, not proposing, suggesting to us is $32,000 cheaper than what was originally budgeted. And basically, we have to do it anyway, even if we sat here and said we didn't want to do it, because it is automatically going to become that small dam. Is that accurate? And then we would have to make the choice on whether we would go forward every 3 years or 4 years on a more
Yeah, I think
consistent
regardless of what you choose, if you chose to do nothing, that pond is going to fill with silt and you'll have cattails coming out.
I'm
So
saying just taking the two, typically we dredge, but
Yeah.
if we go through these proper items, get the proper permitting, where that becomes the small dam, we're gonna be forced to do that anyways.
Yep.
But I'm saying there's not that much of a decision to make, other than, do we wanna just, even if we wanted to just dredge, we couldn't, but what you're proposing, or what you're saying to us is it's $32,000 cheaper than what we.
yeah, if 7C there would be typically what you've gotten in the past, which is just a DNR permit to dredge the pond. What's going to occur when you submit for that permit, the DNR is going to initiate 7A, which is a small dam permit.
Yep.
So they've been going around looking at situations like this, and they've actually been proactively requiring these permits.
Yep.
The reason primarily is they want to make sure that it's properly constructed and that during a heavy rain event, it's not going to blow out and cause property damage downstream. This is a small example, because I don't think that would even occur.
You as our engineer, do you anticipate anything where the DNR is gonna come back, oh, this dam's junky?
No, I don't. And
I
then.
didn't think so, I just have to ask.
Yeah, and then 7B on there is the work that would occur to essentially get it permitted as a stormwater pond, so that you can, when you take the stuff out, realize essentially the credit against these requirements that are mandated on the village, similar to how other ponds in the village function. And that's pretty new. 5 years ago, it would have been absolutely not, we're not going to allow that. And in the last couple of years, I think they've warmed up to it because this whole program has been burdensome for municipalities.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I guess we're ready to move forward with that work plan so that we can keep this thing going. And any other questions related to the stormwater plan or? Okay.
I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the capital improvement plan for
As presented by the engineer. As presented by the engineer.
as presented by Rooker and Milky.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the updated plan as presented by our village engineer. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried unless, I think we're all in agreement. I just want to make sure so that the public knows that's each of the items that we just discussed, especially the main three, and things subsequently that we'll have to do in the future. Thank you very much.
Happened during the play stop. All right, thank you.
That dust kind of made you nervous, didn't it?
Thanks,
When he
Ryan.
started talking about cleaning it.
Okay, so,
Thank you.
next item on the agenda, we have discussion and consideration of a motion to authorize possible action on relocation of budget dollars for Nixon Park. Never mind, we just did that. Did we not?
We did.
That was just flip-flopped, correct?
Stormwater?
Or is this, am I correct?
I think you just approved 7, 6, 7, and 8. 6, 7, and 8.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I just want to make sure I'm being
So
clear.
we're on
So you're just
9.
So I'm 9. Discussion of consideration of a motion to approve an agreement with Visusur, Inc. of Pewaukee for the 2019 sanitary sewer cleaning and televising in the estimated amount of $38,156. My apologies for the confusion.
Not a problem. So, as you well know, every year we put, we clean a third of our sewer system, and we contract that out because it's a time-consuming process. It takes well over a month and a half for Visusur to do a third of our system. And then what we do also in this proposal is we televise our streets that are going to be paved. We go 2 years out, just to make sure there's no sewer issues, and we don't want to put a new road over or something that's bad. We are suggesting that we go with Visusur. I got a couple of proposals, and Visusur was over half the price of the next competitor. Visusur does a great job for us, yes. So we're looking to move forward, and they said they can start the 2019 cleaning as early as September.
Sounds like a plan.
I think it's important to add, like Mr. Faulkner has said, this is a consistent thing that we do. We do have a cycle on this. So it's every single year, we're looking at different areas, but each time it still comes in front of the board.
So that being said, Visusur does a third of our system, and they find problem areas, and we also have our own problem areas. The village staff does the quarterly problem areas, and then we clean our lift stations after that.
Right.
Guess we just need a motion.
I make a motion to approve the agreement with Visusur for $38,156.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve that agreement for $38,156 for the 2019 sanitary sewer cleaning and televising. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. The next item, we have a discussion, consideration of a motion to adopt modifications to the employee handbook. Each of these were included in your packet.
Yeah, Laura Guest and I, the library director, were talking a couple weeks ago about some of the holidays that the library, they work on, that the village is closed. So that created the first change that we're looking to do in the handbook, just where it says that the library may adopt, the library board governs them, so they'll follow our policy except for where they differ. I think Laura's gonna look into having the library board do a calendar annually, because Good Friday, for example, we had a half day. They were open the entire time. So to avoid conflict, we're going to put the language in there. And then the other conflict that we have in the handbook that's been kind of glaring for a while, we say for overtime pay, it's 8 hours per day. Other places, we say 40 hours a week. The Fair Labor Standards Act just says that it has to be 40 hours a week, so we're trying to just get with the times and update it to say 40 hours. The difference there is obviously protective services have different schedules where they can work over the 8 or the 28-day pay cycle, so.
And the library's a standalone.
Yeah, any questions on those changes?
Good? No discussion? Motion. Okay, I move that you adopt the modification in the employee handbook.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt those modifications to the employee handbook. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item we have is a discussion and consideration of a motion to appoint Ryan Bailey with the title of interim administrator, giving him that authority.
I'll move that we approve
Thanks,
the movement of Ryan Bailey to the interim administrator.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Ryan Bailey as the interim administrator. Mike, do you have anything you want to say? Or Jeff? Since you made the motion. I just want to say part of this is it accomplishes a couple things. That's why it's on the agenda. Number one, Ryan is still going to be the finance director, but I personally think it is very important for the village, for all of us, just for pecking order and stuff like that. If someone comes into the village hall on a day-to-day, we aren't there. And someone needs to be able to have that authority to keep things running, just like with DPW, the police department, if we don't have a chief, you put someone in that role. Along with that, I feel confident that Ryan has the know-how and has been around it. He sat right next door to the administrator upstairs in the staff offices for quite some time, that it will be a great assistance to leading us in the right direction as we continue this search for an administrator. I think it's going to be a big benefit to myself. When I'm calling in to do things, I think it's going to be a big benefit to the trustees, but it also gives us, a clear focus and a clear chain of command, so to speak, whether it's a personnel issue that comes up or whether it's something we're dealing with on agenda items and things like that. I just think that it's a good move for the village to have someone in that role with that authority on the day-to-day. So I just wanted to throw that in. That's where it kind of came from. Anybody else have anything? No? It's been moved and seconded to appoint Ryan to that position and give him the authority of that title. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. With that being said, Ryan will not be at the bid meeting tomorrow, but beyond that, he will be at the meetings that the administrator typically goes to or attends. Maybe is a more professional way to say that. Next item on the agenda, we have a consideration of a motion to set the next regular village board meeting for Tuesday, May 28th, beginning at 7 p.m. Obviously, this is due to the Memorial Day holiday, at which hopefully everybody will be out having fun and doing exciting, fun things, as opposed to coming to the board meeting.
I will not be there.
That's
I make the motion that we move the meeting to Tuesday.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to schedule the meeting at the end of the month, the fourth week, the second meeting in the month, to Tuesday, May 28th, beginning at 7 p.m. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item on the agenda is consideration of board, commission, and committee appointments as presented by the village president, myself. I'm going to go through them as a list. If anybody wants to make a motion on an individual one because they might have any problems with another one. However someone makes the motion, that's how we're going to go through this. I'm just presenting to the board for everyone that's here, for everyone that's viewing, and for the village board. I want to make it extremely clear, according to our village ordinances, the village president may bring the name forward and propose someone for an appointment. It is up to us as a board to approve those appointments. I just want to make it very clear. I think it's important to always be clear on that so that everybody knows. With that, the library board, As the village board representative to the library board, I, Jeff Vanderstill, will be the appointee on the library board as the village board representative. Delhart Board, Jeff Anson, Rick Connor, Donna Doro, Mike Myers, Jeff Vanderstill will be the alternate. So that's 4. Anson, Connor, Doro, Myers. And Vanderstill is the 5th, which is just an alternate in case they need me and someone cannot be there. Joint Architectural and Plan Commission, and Trustee Walschlager will continue as the village board member on the Plan Commission. Jeff Bierman, a longtime contractor in the village, will take the citizen appointment that was previously served by Jack Wenstrom. Board of Review, the president has to be on it, myself. Trustee Myers will be the village board appointee. Trustee Ludke has stepped up to say that she would like to be the citizen appointee. And so Trustee Ludke would take Randy Swenson's spot from when he was on it. Those are the lists of appointments that I'm presenting to the board tonight.
I move that we approve your recommendation.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the recommendations as listed. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Those appointments are carried through. It is my understanding that anybody that was appointed that wasn't here will get hold of them in some way, shape, or form, or anything that needs to be done.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes,
Will our village engineer be at the planning?
it is in the contract. So yes,
As a voting member or not a voting member?
as a non-voting member.
Okay.
Ryan, the village engineer, unless we notify otherwise, will be at the plan commission. We will notify him when he doesn't need to be there, but they should plan, a representative from that office should plan on being there, but they are a non-voting member.
Okay.
Yeah, it was before my time, 2 years ago.
Okay.
But no, I just wanted to make sure it's clear, but so that, so that's,
Okay.
announcements. Go ahead, chief, go ahead.
All right, Dave Dean, Fire Chief, handed out a couple of things before. Just wanted the public to be aware of. This Wednesday, there will be a Jump for Archie. Archie was a young man that passed away from an opioid overdose, and this will be the 5th annual. The organization called SOFA, Saving Others for Archie. It just is to bring awareness to the growing opioid overdose crisis, the relationship between addiction and mental health, and what we can do to bring awareness to it. So at 7:35 on Wednesday evening, a group of first responders and myself will be jumping off a pier into Lake Michigan. Lake LaBelle. At Lake Michigan, they never find into Lake LaBelle. So all is welcome. It's awareness. I gave you the flyer there. I hope to have lots of people there. There should be good, and I will have my little wings on so I don't go under. And then following on Sunday is a walk for Williams at North Shore Middle School. It's a really great event. We'll have some trucks up there, and we'll be flying the flag, and again, just individual awareness about Williams syndrome. Day of activities, awareness, fundraising, and family activities, and you can come and get a hot dog lunch. Just some public events I want to make the village aware of.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Chief Misko.
Thank you. Just had a couple things as well. Actually, this Wednesday for law enforcement, we have our law enforcement memorial, this being Police Week. I'm actually doing the introduction on behalf of the Waukesha County Chiefs Association. It's at Abundant Life Church in Summit at 7 p.m. this Wednesday. Public's welcome, so you're more than welcome to attend if you'd like. Also wanted to just pass on DNC news. So that's coming up in 2020, July of 2020, July 13th through the 16th. And some mutual aid requests already start rolling in on that. Milwaukee PD is actually one of the smallest, if not the smallest department that's ever handled an event like the DNC, so they're going to be very overwhelmed. They've just recently joined our SMART agreement. For those that remember that, we redid that a couple months ago. So Milwaukee has traditionally never been a part of that. They obviously see the need for the mutual aid in an event like this. For now, so far preliminary, they've only asked for support from our SWAT teams throughout southeastern Wisconsin and then some. So right now, our suburban critical incident team is looking to formulate a plan with the Milwaukee Police Department on how we can offset some of that. Very preliminary, but I just wanted to bring that up because as the year gets closer and around, more information will follow on that. And as of right now, we're hopeful either the governor or through the event itself, everything will be fully reimbursed through the city of Milwaukee and or state of Wisconsin if the governor declares this a state of emergency for this type of event. Also on that note, I have tentatively scheduled at our July 8th board meeting just a presentation to explain the memo I wrote a couple months back on our armored rescue vehicle. The 9 communities that are part of our suburban critical incident team are looking to move forward with that piece of equipment, especially in light of the DNC coming to town and then just how it's integral in the tactics that we use and have developed over the years. So I have some members of our SCIT as well as myself that will present some more information to the board and what we're looking at doing to accomplish getting that piece of equipment available to the village of Hartland and the other 8 communities that utilize that suburban critical incident team. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll follow the badges.
That's
Just want to give you a heads up. Last year, you okayed in your budget process to redo Nixon Park Ball Diamond at the cost of about $30,000. Part of that was they came in last Tuesday to put the final touches on, set the bases and what have you. Tuesday night, one of our beautiful citizens decided that their car needed to go right over the top of that brand new diamond and did a donut in the sod and the outfield. So the police was aware, they took reports. I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. DPW will do the repair. They will sod and seed it and we'll repair the diamond ready for play on Sunday. Just giving you keeping you aware. All right.
It was a very unfortunate event. I mean, it was unnecessary. It was
Let's put out a reward and find out who did it.
something, well, I can only imagine that it's being looked into, and I'm not gonna ask anybody to come up and give tips right now. That would, we're hoping that something will come of that, but, it's unfortunate. These are the kind of things that do cost the village money. If you saw the pictures, I mean, it's borderline sickening. You're ready to go. You have a field that, it had even been kind of let go, but we took steps to make it better. We really put a lot into it. I'm talking funding wise. There's other organizations, Lake Country Youth Baseball had donated tons of dirt, which helped keep that price down. So it's not like it was just the village. It was different people. This would have benefited a lot of different people, but it's our community. And for someone to think that that was the really fun, cool thing to do, it's kind of sad. When I was younger, we found much cooler stuff to do, to be quite honest with you. But it just is, it's terrible. So now that's going to set things back. I have kind of relayed to DPW and did call Ryan Bailey and said, hey, whatever we got to do, there was, we did come in under budget, but we'd like to get it as perfect, as close to the way it was. We'll have to figure that out down the road. But it's unfortunate for the village because the first thought that I have is what happens? All of a sudden you have this huge extra expense because what do you have to do? Put pilings all around the field now because you can't trust that someone's not going to just go on there. But now you have something that just trying to do something nice, 30 grand. Now all of a sudden you could be stuck with a project that costs 90 grand and making sure that vehicles can't get onto there. It's just a really sad thing. If anybody does have any, whether you're over age or underage and you have any tips on that, I strongly encourage you to call the Hartland Police Department non-emergency line and let them know, or step to the window. I'm sure that they would work with you if you don't want anybody to know that you knew who did it. I can't speak for them, but that's my guess. But if you have any information on that, police or business owners that see headlights spinning across a field in the middle of the night, please call. Don't just assume that you can't help. So. Okay. Well, with that, and does anyone else have any other announcements? All right. So, We have our next item, which is a consideration of a motion to recess to closed session pursuant to state statutes 19.851C for the purpose of considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, to consider stipend or bonus payments to public works management staff, and to reconvene into open session pursuant to 19.852 for the purpose of considering any action as may be necessary and appropriate.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Anson?
Aye.
Trustee Doro?
Aye.
Trustee Myers?
Aye.
Trustee Walschlager?
Aye.
Trustee Lutke?
Aye.
Trustee Connor?
Aye.
President Vanderstel?
Aye. At this time, that is carried. At this time, we will move into closed session. We'll take a couple minutes to do that. Okay, so we are back in open session, and based on what we went through, our item on the agenda after reconvening into open session is to consider or take any action deemed appropriate pursuant to the previously held closed session due to things that are going on inside of the village, to make sure that our employees who work very hard get the proper compensation, some of them for work they've already done, some of them for work they will do, and to give them the motivation to continue to work and know that their village and their village board stand behind them. I would make the motion that for our utilities supervisor and our DPW supervisor over other items that aren't utility, that is Mike Gershevsky and Dave Felkner, that we would give them a $7,000 bonus for the time that they have served from June of last year up through this year, up through this time, which is approximately 1 year, a $7,000 bonus, as they got no additional pay for having to work without a DPW director, but did the work and services to make sure that we maintained that level as if we did have a DPW director. I would also include with that motion that they get a stipend every 2 weeks on their paychecks, which would be $269.23 each pay period, which is every 2 weeks. That will only be until a DPW director is hired. Along with that, I will include the naming of the interim administrator. Ryan Bailey was done today. He is also still our finance director and treasurer. For the work he will be doing as the interim administrator, it is only appropriate that he would receive a stipend of $500 every 2 weeks, which is each pay period 26 times per year, $500 every 2 weeks for the services he will render as he has taken on that position. That is the motion.
I second.
It has been moved and seconded to take care of the DPW supervisors with $7,000 for past year's service, $7,000 stipend, which is $269.23 every 2 weeks or each pay period, and for our interim administrator Bailey, that he would receive a stipend of $500 each pay period to compensate him for the additional service that he will be providing to the village. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Ryan, please make sure those things get taken care of.
I make a motion we close.
Adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we close/adjourn. All in favor? Aye. This meeting is adjourned.